that's interesting. Copy and alright, we are up. Good evening, everybody. Alright, we are fully up, I believe. Yep, everything's good to me. Let's roll. Alright, we were working over here, and I think I realized some stuff about this leg thing, so we're going to start with that. I was looking at some real ones today, and I realized mine doesn't really jive with how they work. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an attachment back here that works with what I've already got. Let's see where those photos go of that original one I was looking at earlier today. So grab some reference off to the side. Could be here. No. What were they called? Let's see, you're running blade prosthetics. There we go. I want to put these on here, and I realized didn't know exactly what they looked like, and I was just kind of making them up, and then I looked them up and I was like, oh, that's what they're like. Not that he needs them, but it's kind of a function for him to play off of in his role as a tree hopper. Should make it more dynamic. There we go. Feels a lot better. Probably push it back even more. I like to hear a little more spring. Yeah, that feels much better. There we go. That'll help us kind of design it better on this side too. But let's finish up this front view. It's interesting. I had a oh, no one's here, so wait to talk about that I guess till later. But had a little bit of a big jump over on the YouTube side. I was quite shocked by. Make sure that's muted. Six, that hasn't changed. That's the same. Maybe they won't have the big jump, huh? Interesting. So, yeah, that was interesting to see that. So I'm not sure what to make of it yet, but good evening. I got bumped. Alright. Tried out this mini eraser I picked up, a little smaller than what I have. Seems like it's okay. Squeeze these lines back a bit. Good evening. Let's see if I've got like a brush I can use rather than trying to wipe it off with my fingers. What do I got over here? I think I've got a, guess you might do for this. Somewhere I've got like a big mop brush. And then lift this up. Is that going to help with the light? Or is it you? Oh, I just have to move it over. If I want to work on this guy, there we go, that's better. Less shiny. much less shiny. And then using, I think, this piece of paper to help with not smudging too much, right? So we learned a couple things about this guy. Height's okay. Knock that back, and then we'll start cleaning this up a lot in here. Nice to get a clean drawing. Push that out a little bit. Be a pro, not leave a mess. Did put that red stuff under here, so not so much into that, but just got a little noisy in some places. A couple more spots in here. Happy Thursday. Alright, let's bring this out a little bit over there. Gloves are here. Particular detail on the glove should worry about. No, keep them simple. Just over there. Might do some close-ups later. Good evening. So it's going to scoot back. And then come forward. pulls it back and then come forward. Something like that. Seems like all the machines are happier today, though. That's good news. Good evening. Yeah, somewhere I've got a big mop brush. I don't remember where I put it though. Alright. Let's raise that up a little bit. some kind of badge here. And over there. Good evening. Welcome to a quiet Thursday night. To the middle one. It'll probably be a little thinner. Alright, we need some straight lines here on this pack. Nice straight lines. There we go. Good evening. Some of this excess so I can get in here. Stuff we're not going to need. Appreciate having a tough paper to work on. Good evening. I've got this shifted over here just because, should I probably zoom in, huh? There we go. Where I'm working. We got shifted over just because, makes it, gets rid of the glare for me. I don't know how it affects you, but get this glare. Alright, we got a pouch over here. And I'm going to have some kind of container along here. Some kind of pressurized air that feeds into here for his deployment suit or deployment balloon. It'll be on one side it's the air, and the other side maybe it's gas. So, and that'll go here. Got that there. I got a little flashlight down here. Attached to the side. There's these pouches. And then over here we'll have something similar. All right. And shoulders should slope. And we should see the strap coming up. And the other one will be down here. Good evening. Let's see. Good evening. Good evening, people popping in. How are we doing? Ready to get a good Thursday rolling out? Walked out of class today and my brain told me it was Friday, which I know for a fact that it is not Friday, so must be coming up on the weekend. Good evening. Alright, this thing back here. And another one, maybe a 3/4 view over there. And it kind of blends over the other things up here. Just making a mess. Ones here. Good evening. everyone popping in. Alright, there we go. So that should be coming down to here. A bit lower, right? Right, but that one too low. That should be up here with you. A little bit below. I think that might be a little too high up too. Like that. There's the dip there. That's more accurate. good? Guess that makes sense putting it in the middle, huh? And so if I were to maybe rotate this a little bit that way. There we go. It's all three in there. Alright, so that does answer some good questions, I think. Alright, what do we think here? Let's move this a little tighter. I'll give this just a little bit more of a bounce, I guess, there. All right. My dog did come back. That was nice of him. Alright, so we got that down. I think I made a list somewhere. Just make sure I'm not forgetting what I want to do. Alright, what did I put on my list? So we got that. I'm going to do his face and some details. Alright, finish that. Revised thumbnail, that's right. Balloon design thing, alright. Set that over here. Just a bit of paper to hide my, keep me from smudging too much. And let's scoot this on over. I've got some kind of general thoughts on the face. These aren't the best drawings, but this is like, I think, got to me as a communication tool there. But let's go ahead and make sure this is level here. It's easier to set up some divisions on here. Let's get the other one out to rough this in. Good evening, people popping in. So I might scoot this all over. Just staying out of that boundary that I don't need to stay out of. Smaller too, I think. Do more like that. Good evening, people popping in. Good evening. Hello, Greg. How's Utopia treating you? Not too hard, not too bad, that's good. We got Ian McCaig coming to campus next week, so I'm excited about that. Met him at Lightbox last fall, and brought him out here. Oh, we got a fake person over there. Oh, well, thanks for coming in. Yeah, I wish I understood the live streaming thing a little bit. I did notice a little bump over on YouTube today, though, like in terms of follower count. Like it went from, it's never been big, so I just mostly did the live streaming thing, but it bumped up like 17 followers today, which is weird, because just like 1 or 2 here and there. Well, it'll be here. Well, I'm in Virginia. I don't know if you know that, but so I'm on the other side of the country from Utah, so he'll be here Monday, Tuesday, doing a lecture and a workshop with students. And they do like presentation in the morning and then kind of a workshop with the students in the afternoon. Well, you're welcome to come, I guess, if you're out this way, you know. I'm at VCU, so Virginia Commonwealth University. Not that I'm aware of. If there is, I'd certainly let you know, but I haven't heard of any of that. It says it's going to be a storytelling workshop, so I think it might be similar to what he did for Gnomon workshops, which was this series with them where he did like the Little Mermaid in space. So it helps students kind of come up with storytelling in that. Oh, you stopped teaching? Yeah, so yeah, I'm at started here. Well, I was at Ringling down in Florida for 4 years, 2019 to 2023, and then moved up here a year and a half ago, and it's pretty great. You know, they've got actually technically speaking, I'm a research professor, which has got to be unheard of in a commercial art major. I'm in the communication arts major as a concept design professor. So I've mostly just been teaching their concept drawing class since coming out here. Yeah, adjunct is rough. I know that for sure. I remember I was before I went out to SCAD and left Utah for SCAD Hong Kong back in 2012. I was teaching at UVU and BYU. I was teaching 5 classes, and it was fine for just me, but I couldn't imagine doing that if you had other responsibilities. Yeah, but I'm full-time here, but I'm research professor, which means I'm only supposed to teach 2 classes. I've got an extra one this semester, and then I've been putting too much time into helping revamp a portion of the program, putting in illustration concentration inside the comm arts major. And so we have a lot of students that are into comics and stuff, so I thought I would do some experimenting with that. So yeah, so we're just finishing up the semester, but it's good times. But I've also I've put together some thumbnails here for a little short story based off my larger project I've been doing. And I need somebody who's a little more basic because I have a larger story I want to tell, but I thought I'd start with something simple just because I haven't done much of that. Yeah, 2 classes is really good. Like it's really not fair. Like I am well aware of that fact. I've seen it kind of pop up in faculty meetings a bit. Talking about decreasing loads or things like that on other faculty. So we have there's 3 categories of faculty here. There's 2 of us that are research primary professors. The other guy's very much a technical guy. Like he's very not very artsy. He's more engineering. And then we have he and I both have very kind of small schedules. And he's been doing stuff with 3D scanning, some other things. But and then we've had some other faculty here that are they teach 3-3 basically, which is pretty standard. And those are our tenured faculty from a while ago. And then we have our it's my little IP thing I've been working on for a while, the Bramble project. But the idea behind it is 3-3 is pretty typical. If you go to Ringling, it's 3-3, or SCAD. SCAD's 4-4-4, but let's see, I want to give him some kind of thin little mohawk on here. But and then there's term professors, and those are they don't get to have tenure, and they teach a lot more. So there's no concern about them doing research or outside work. They teach 4-4, which I think is a lot here. There's a couple guys that do that, a couple people that do that, and I wouldn't have taken this spot if I had to do that because I was wrangling with 3-3. But mine's also tenure track, which is nice too. So, but I need to get the research going, publication, and things like that. And I've been mostly just kind of focusing on my own skill sets. That's good. Yeah, I've been seeing you doing lots of painting on here, showing off your textures and all that. So yeah, the tenure comes after 6 years. They do a little sit down with you at 3 to see if you're on track. I haven't done that much in terms of what they would consider research since coming here. I spent the first year doing a deep dive on the skills, and then I got kind of roped into this development of this concentration. And it's taken up a lot of my time. And then I had to teach an extra class this semester, which isn't something I necessarily wanted to do, but we accidentally hired someone who was someone we had to let go in the first 2 weeks of the semester. And so I had to pick up one of his classes. But there is a side benefit to that. Well, two of them. So they're paying me an overload, and I get time off in the fall. So I'm going to have only one class in the fall. So that's acceptable. So basically I have like, starting in a couple weeks, I'll have like this very, very light load, right? So all summer off, of course, and then in the fall I'll have a Friday class basically. And I do find those terms acceptable. But yeah, looking forward to that going down. Yeah, so I put because I've set the one class. They only want me to teach the one, so they really don't want me teaching a lot. Yeah, so a little overload pay. It's not a huge amount, but it's nice to have the extra. I'll do a bunch of painting. I've got too many. My problem, I don't know if you know my background at all, but my problem is I've always had like too many interests, and so I'm always like feel like I'm always like chasing my tail around, and that's not really good for the current gig. I need to kind of like lock a few things down tighter, but hopefully get that figured out this summer. Yeah, but I was looking at my skill set just in terms of like, where students are at and where I should be and a number of other things, and kind of been doing a reevaluation of myself so that I can better kind of serve in this position. So like, especially like character stuff, I haven't focused on that. I'm pretty good at figure drawing, but the character is different than figure drawing, right? I mean, it's not just subject, it's medium. So I'll be doing like 3D, and then I'll be, over in the, on the computer or the iPad, or I want to do some oil painting. Big project I did relatively recently was I did a camper build for painting out of my Nissan Xterra, which I've gotten some good use out of this last fall. Because of the 2-class schedule, I always have like a 4-day work weekend. Yeah, so it's it's a bit of a problem because most people I know that are really good at things. Like we were looking at Kim Jung-gi's stuff with my students this week a bit, and he basically did like one thing, right? He like drew with ink, and that's really the path to like real excellence, is like being super focused. Oh look, it's Dr. Thornock. We're getting the whole crew in here. Where's Perry? Right? Yeah, if you want to check it out, I have a separate Instagram account for it. It's here, I'll type it in here. At Xterra bitch. Yeah, Perry, what's he doing? He should be online more often, right? Yeah, I'm a little sad. I applied for the Voices of the Wilderness residency thing that Alaska and national parks do, and I was turned down. And it looked like for some reason, they didn't say what it was. I suspect I know why it is, but yeah, we're coming up. I got a week and a half left of classes, and actually only 2 days of classes because we got Ian McCaig coming up on Monday, Tuesday. So all my classes, we're just going to go to his stuff. Yeah, don't be jealous too much, but he'll be doing lecture and little workshop. I'm just gonna push that forward more. But yeah, almost there. Last day of classes for me is the 29th. And I normally just have students turn stuff in online rather than having like a final critique. I even checked with my seniors, and yeah, that's it. That's the link to the camper thing at Xteravich. So it's like I did the whole build mostly in Florida. I finished up for the most part last year, last summer here. There's a couple little things that need some like tweaking. I might wait for like the main heat of the summer when I don't necessarily want to be out in the woods as much or something. Finish that up. It's like just like kind of fixing a few things in place. I even got into, I guess it's sort of counted towards my research. I got it into the Overland Expo, which is like one of the big expos that for that kind of activity. Into their DIY showcase. So I wasn't there as a vendor, but I was in for that. So I put that in for like my research last year in addition to the Lightbox trip. I don't know if they'll look at that as something, but you know, something, I guess. And then I've been having a weird time kind of fighting with the system a little bit here because we're trying to put in this illustration concentration, and I've been working with our department chair who he just was just recently put in because they cycle through. I was sort of given that as a quasi assignment from the last one, but the one we have right now, like, he's been really helpful, like getting it all rolled out and all this, but he seems to want to push a lot of graphic design into the illustration concentration. It's like, it's one thing to have it as part of the main major track, but I'm like, well, why do we want it? I think my space is looking weird. Why do we want to have like all of this in the illustration thing? Or we have an opportunity to like add in another kind of art making class, and he's been hesitant to push that through, and I don't know why. But I suspect part of his hesitancy across different areas has to do with his general support for the generative AI nonsense, and I think he just doesn't see a future in illustration. And he has a background in he's mostly an animation background guy, so he doesn't really do illustration. Like I was describing what conceptual illustration is, or editorial illustration. He had no idea what it was, in spite of the fact that we have, and this guy's his friend, in the major, we have Sterling Hundley teaching here full time, tenure track. He's been here for 19 years, and he's like one of the guys, right? Yeah, well, it sucks for pretty much everything. I've been forced to learn more about it because we had a little controversy here last fall. The teacher replacing student work for a promotional event with AI, which was no good thing to do. There was a lot of very upset students. And almost none of the students want anything to do with it. There's a few that kind of see some for it, but yeah, as I said, I see him all the time. So we were teaching across the hall from each other this semester. But yeah, I'm just like, but like he had no idea like the broader view of what illustration is. For him, illustration was just concept design, and I just thought that was really bizarre. So I went and checked out a copy of Society of Illustrators. Probably should go grab a couple more of them to bring to the meeting tomorrow. But I'll do that. But yeah, so that's one of the things I've been struggling with, because like I was telling him, yeah, we need to have, he's really pushing to have like these graphic design classes. I'm like, well, actually, we really need is this editorial or conceptual illustration class, and he just didn't know what that was. He was like very confused. You could tell like he was trying to not show that he didn't know, but he was at the same time clearly like didn't know what it was. And I've never really done, that type of illustration. Maybe my Maverick mural counted to a certain degree, but I would never call that like an editorial illustration directly, or a conceptual illustration. It has a little bit of stuff in there, but not a lot. But I had glasses in it. I knew what it was. I'm like, yeah, this is really, really important. It's how you convey meaning without narrative. He seemed very confused by the whole concept. And I'm like, well, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, it's a basic skill that all illustrators should have. It should be. I was getting when I was at SCAD, they had to do some kind of themed approach for a ride as a project for their application to the Disney Imagineering scholarship. And so I helped the students kind of do that more conceptually to show kind of, convey that meaning that they were supposed to like work on as part of that, as a conceptual thing rather than strictly narratively. So my thought with this, obviously, the editorial market hasn't been great necessarily, but it's the thinking behind it that's really important. That doesn't change, right? Because the market's like editorial itself changes. The market's changed for that, but that thinking, that approach of conceptual illustration does not. And that was the argument I was making, that if we're going to build out a illustration program or illustration concentration within the program, you really have to look at those things that stay consistent across time and really kind of build those in, so we don't always have to chase our tail around. So like the market will change. It's like when concept art became a big thing. Well, concept art, still a big thing, but at the same time, it's a lot more challenging to get into. But really, the skill sets for it are exactly the same as you'd get in traditional illustration. You might use some different tools, but it's drawing and story and concept, and showing functionality is maybe the big thing that's different. We had talked to one of our professors here, Kelly Alder. He's an adjunct teacher, and he's done a lot of conceptual illustration. But I was just like, I was just very confused by the fact they didn't know what it was. They didn't have a broader view of illustration. Then I realized he was kind of, his background was animation, and not so much the broader illustration. As well. So it's been somewhat trouble trying to educate him. We have kind of consolidated our design classes into two. One is more of like an entrepreneurial class where they're building out their infrastructure, which I was saying, if we're going to do some graphic design stuff, let's do it in the context of students making things for themselves. And then we're keeping our type class, would be like a type and layout class, with a little bit of conceptual approaches for doing logos and things like that. And that way we want to start having the students thinking beyond the project. So the idea is thinking about that presentation or the situation where the project will exist. So, if they're going to do, like in concept art, you look around, people do these really nice layouts where they kind of, I guess I should turn this where I'm actually drawing, right? Well, hello over there on, can I draw Princess Zelda in a bathing suit? Probably not. I got other plans tonight. Sorry, someone over on a different chat area. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, it's a presentation of things. So, if they're doing, like, if they're an editorial illustration class, or they're doing conceptual illustration, they don't want to just like do the illustration and turn it in, but we want to have them start presenting it as it would be in its situation. So, putting it on the magazine cover or on the page that it would be on. So that way they're kind of completing the project, and then they've got like a day or two to do the layouts. And so have them learn InDesign along with Illustrator as part of that design class, and then use that skill in all of their other classes to kind of take it forward. It's kind of a value add to their overall approach. Or in concept design, they'll do like these nice layouts. Similar to what I'm doing here, except that they'll put it on a piece of paper and they'll have the character pose and they'll have the turnarounds and facial expressions and some labels and call outs and things on it. And that way, say a student could put together, because one of my thoughts last summer was I want to say, well, if we can do some InDesign in class, maybe we can get students to make like a book. And that way they're put together like a pitch Bible or a book Bible by the end of the semester, not just, a collection of their images. And got some pushback from that, but I think if we kind of incorporated that into a design class like that and then had the students do it, knowing that they're taking that class at the same time, then that's like a big addition to what they're doing. And that's kind of the general approach we're trying to take with the concentration is, setting up more prerequisites, and then setting up better prerequisites, and then trying to carry content forward. It was a lesson I kind of learned at Ringling, and this other, the department chair that I've been working with, it's something, he saw there as well, where if you kind of unify what's taught in one course across sections, regardless of who the teacher is, one of the things that you can do if all the projects are the same and the schedules are kind of mostly the same is start to actually have the following class use that material in their classes, along with classes that are happening at the same time. And it's something that we're really trying to kind of push into the program to kind of make it a much more professional program. And I know we actually have some adjuncts that are very worried about that, because we've got, because we want to like shift because right now the figure drawing stuff is pretty randomly taught depending on who your teacher is. You'll be learning different things. And which is a bit of a problem because we've got two classes and one is supposed to be a prerequisite for the other. And anyway, two of these adjuncts that I'm aware of, like they don't teach structural drawing at all. One of them does site size and the other one's kind of more of a find your own voice, hippie lady approach. And they both kind of are valid-ish depending on what you're doing, but they're not teaching structural drawing, which is what they need, the Alvin Gittins approach. And which is really what the students need in the program, so they can do illustration or concept art or comics or whatever it is they want to do. But both of them are quite nervous about it, which is interesting because they're kind of on either extreme of the figure drawing approach. Other professors I've talked to there, the other adjunct professors they're more excited about. I'm working with one of them who's a full-time to kind of develop what we're going to do. And then the other thing I've been doing is trying to get us more adjuncts down here because we've kind of run out. Our program, so the whole VCU Arts program has about 1,800 students in it. So that's like I think there's like 8 or 9 other majors, so around 10-ish majors. And 600 of them are in our program. So we have 1/3 of the program is in our school, which it's a good problem, but it's a big problem because we need more facilities, we need more resources, we need more everything. So I've done some outreach at my grad school during the break, went up to New York. I was actually surprised. I saw a bunch of figurative work in galleries. So I went to New York Academy and did a little presentation there to encourage a bunch of them to apply. Might not be able to get them in the fall, for sure, but maybe by the spring. And they would bring a lot of that anatomy and structure that we really need. And I emailed CF Payne, but I haven't heard back from him to see if we can get some of his grad students to maybe consider coming here. Instead of a little more, advanced in terms of what they're doing. All right. We're not looking for anything too fancy with this guy. Thought about putting some kind of implant on the side of his head, but I think we're just going to keep it really basic. wanted to tell some simpler stories on this world building thing. So I have a whole other thing that's way more complicated, but probably this person here and up here, but that's a separate story. But I have a whole other sketchbook that's packed up with this stuff too. Yeah, but the basic anatomy and the structure and human construction, the Loomis method, all of that's it's more important. Like, site size is great. It's helpful. It has a place. In fact, one of the things we can do is we can kind of make our own ComArt sections in the first year program. Oh yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, so I reached out to him. I haven't heard back from him. I just reached out to him the other day, so I'm sure he's in the middle of the end of the semester too. So we're running out of local adjunct faculty. There's just too many students, and but trying to just lock down the curriculum, especially in the sophomore year, probably to a certain degree in the junior year. One of the things that I kind of have helped push Sterling into is developing a business class and putting that in the junior year. So instead of putting the business class in the senior year, which is more typical, we're putting it in the junior year, and that will help students kind of know what they're going to do going into their senior year. Yeah, I did see that. We're all pretty shocked by that. I only met him, I think, once, but I think Sterling knew him pretty well, or to a certain degree. But I didn't really know. But yeah, he was. I was showing. It was going back to that editorial stuff, right? So I was using that kind of shape. This is what people do. This is important stuff for people to understand. So that they can, do well with their work. But yeah, I know he taught at BYU for a year, and that's where I met him. We went plein air painting once, and he was off kind of by himself, far away from the rest of the group, and then he put his painting in his car and drove off at the end, so we never even saw what he did. I'm guessing it didn't go well, but that's my only Brad Holland story. But that was a long time ago. And then I remember there being something weird, like you didn't have a social security number or card or something like that. And they had a hard time paying him at first. I remember, I think Beth Ann was telling me something about that. 9 o'clock. All right. Then, but I'm trying to kind of do this outreach to see, because a lot of times for people that do want to teach full time, getting that first gig can be really hard. Just being adjunct, even. Working on that student portfolio and just getting their foot in the door to have that experience, because there's it's pretty competitive to get these art teaching jobs, and so that's one reason I wanted to reach out to these places. Hey, if you're looking for it, we've got a big need here. It aligns with the things that you're learning that we need, and I know that, and so come work with us. It's relatively inexpensive. It's cheaper to live in Richmond than in Utah, for sure. But so it's a good opportunity for people that are kind of as long as they're not dependent, they don't have a big family or something dependent on them. It's a good opportunity to do that kind of thing. I wouldn't necessarily advise it to anybody that had more pressing needs, I'd say, go get a rig. Oops, sorry, Bosh. Just dropped the brush on my dog. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. He's looking at me, eyes like, why you throw the brush at me? I didn't do anything. But yeah, it's definitely very competitive. Like I was talking to one of our adjuncts here, and he told me that he was one of the final candidates for the spot I got. And he's a bit older than me. He's worked in comics for a long time, and he's really, really great. We get along fine. But yeah, I think he was definitely disappointed he didn't get it because he was already here. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm always kind of point out to people is very often, I don't know that it should be the case, but very often places will tend to prefer to hire someone from that they don't have access to because they kind of already have you if you're local and teaching. So why should they if they've already got you, why bother hiring you? They already got access to you, and they could bring in somebody new. It's not fair, but but it's just a fact of life. So I was talking to him about that a bit. Says, it isn't fair, but this is probably what happened to a certain degree. It doesn't help, also helps that I have a master's degree. Yeah. And then I also come from a broader skill set. So this guy's mostly comics, and I've got I haven't really done comics, but I've done a lot of other things. And actually, I applied at UVU. I was out there the last two spring breaks. Last year, Perry asked me to apply for a spot I was not qualified for at all, and I made it abundantly clear to him and others that I was not. I think they just needed more people to apply. It was for their 3D specialist position in their entertainment design program, and I'm not a 3D specialist at all. I like doing it to a certain degree, but that's definitely not my background. Perry's like, no, we need you to apply. I want you out here. I'm like, well, I'll apply, but just so you know what I got here, it pays a lot more and it's a lot cheaper to live here. And then this is my schedule. And also I'm not qualified for the stated position. And then they they had me apply the previous year, but it was also the similar kind of thing where, I was at Ringling at the time, and pays more, even though that time Florida was getting more expensive. I think they hired Adam Manoa, who they did have it already, but I think that's who they ended up hiring for that spot. But it's funny because he was a student of mine a long time ago. But even then, I don't think I would have taken the offer at that point. It's I can do 3D, but I'm not a professional at it at all. I can kind of get in there and make the things that I want to make for what I want, but it's not I'm not going to go in there and animate and do visual effects and do an animation and outside of a camera turnaround, some sculpting and basic 3D modeling. That's about as far as I go. For what I need it for, right? If I was a 3D modeler, I guess I'd need it for a lot more, but Alright, have a good night. Or have a good dinner. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock here, so I'm going to be shutting down about 30 minutes or so. Get the dog his evening broccoli. So let's see, did I miss anything else up there? Nope. Alright, so there's something else I want to consider in terms of details here. I think front and side is probably pretty good for this guy. Maybe do top, it's really just a big bald head. Guess we could look at maybe like a 3/4 view would be good to have. We'll get into like some expressions and things. Alright. That's in there. Good evening. Let's see. putting on while I'm the last little bit. Alright, let's go with that. Alright, where was I? See if I can't get this face in here. Good evening. Good evening, people popping in. Good evening. Good evening. Finishing up here for the evening soon. Let's see. Alright, I think I might call it here. Come back to this tomorrow, but we've got some good progress here. Worked on our little character drawings across the top. I've got the portraits in there, front and side, 3/4. Probably touch those up tomorrow, so I've had some time to sleep on them. And then I feel like that's some good progress today. Put my toys away and call it a night. So thanks everybody that came in. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all later.